A few months ago, my life took an unexpected turn that I couldn't have foreseen. What began as a simple curiosity about my genetic heritage evolved into a profound journey of self-discovery and emotional reckoning. I had always been a relatively grounded person, content with my life and its established patterns. However, the results of a routine DNA test revealed a startling truth. I had a daughter named Jane whom I had never known existed. This revelation came from a brief, albeit significant, relationship I had during my work assignment in the U.S. nearly 2 decades ago. The news was delivered in a way that felt almost surreal. I remember staring at the results in a mixture of disbelief and wonder. How could something so significant have been hidden for so long? My mind raced through countless questions and what-ifs. The first reaction was one of sheer shock, the kind where reality seems to warp and all you can do is sit in stunned silence, grappling with the enormity of the discovery. Upon learning about Jane, I decided to share my situation on social media. I was unsure of how to navigate this new reality, and thought seeking advice from others might offer some clarity. The responses were a blend of empathy, curiosity, and, regrettably, hostility. Some people shared their own similar experiences, offering comfort and perspective. Others, however, were less kind, hurling harsh judgments and unsolicited advice. The most troubling messages were from those who, unable to grasp the complexity of the situation, responded with cruel suggestions. It was a harsh reminder of how online anonymity can sometimes breed insensitivity and vitriol. In the weeks that followed, Jane and I began to establish a connection. Our conversations ranged from casual updates about our lives to deeper, more introspective discussions. I was struck by how quickly we bonded, despite the physical distance and the emotional complexity of our situation. Jane proved to be an articulate, intelligent, and emotionally mature individual. Her ability to engage in thoughtful conversation made it clear that she had navigated her own set of challenges with grace and resilience. Breaking the news to my family was a significant step, and I anticipated a range of reactions. My mother, known for her strong opinions and deeply held beliefs, was particularly shaken. Her initial response was one of disbelief, and she struggled to reconcile this new piece of information with her existing perception of me. She had always envisioned a specific narrative for our family, and the revelation about Jane disrupted that narrative in profound ways. My sister, too, was deeply affected. Her reaction was a mixture of concern and confusion. The shock of discovering Jane's existence was compounded by the sense of disruption it brought to her understanding of our family dynamics. It was a lot for her to process, and her initial response was characterized by a mix of anxiety and defensiveness. To add some humor to the situation, my brother-in-law, with his characteristic wit, distracted my mother by reminding her of the unfinished sweaters she had promised to knit for the other grandkids. It was a small but effective way to momentarily shift the focus away from the tension and provide a bit of levity. Despite this, the atmosphere remained tense as everyone grappled with the news. Once the immediate shock wore off, my family expressed a strong desire to connect with Jane. However, Jane and I had planned to have a private call to discuss the situation before involving the rest of my family. This call was crucial for setting the stage for future interactions. We talked about our individual lives, the circumstances leading to our current situation, and how we envisioned moving forward. Jane was open and receptive, and we agreed that a face-to-face meeting would be the next logical step. I decided to visit Jane in Georgia for 10 days, a decision that was both exhilarating and daunting. The trip was a blend of personal exploration and emotional discovery. I landed at the same airport I had departed from nearly 20 years earlier, and the experience was imbued with a sense of nostalgia and anticipation. Jane and her aunt met me at the airport, and the sight of Jane in person for the first time was both overwhelming and profoundly moving. Despite having seen her many times through video calls, the reality of her presence brought tears to my eyes. The hug we shared was a moment of emotional intensity, a physical manifestation of the connection we had started to build. During my stay, I made a point of immersing myself in Jane's daily life. I explored the city as a tourist, taking in its sights and sounds during the day. In the evenings, I spent time with Jane, enjoying meals together and engaging in heartfelt conversations. I visited her workplace regularly, where I pretended to be a regular customer, enjoying the chance to see her in her professional environment. It was a deliberate attempt to understand her world and integrate myself into her routine. Jane's extended family was incredibly welcoming, and kind. I had the opportunity to meet various relatives and learn about their lives and experiences. Their warmth and acceptance made me feel at home and helped to ease some of the initial tension. I stayed in a hotel to avoid intruding too much on Jane's personal space, though I visited her family's home daily. I wanted to strike a balance between being present and allowing Jane the space she needed. Our conversations during the visit were a mix of light-hearted exchanges and deeper discussions. We talked extensively about Jane's upbringing, her relationship with her mother, and the impact of her mother's illness. Jane's mother had been a significant figure in her life, but her health had deteriorated significantly over the years. She now lived in a care facility, suffering from cognitive decline. Visiting the facility was a sobering experience. Jane introduced me by name rather than as her father, and it was evident that her mother struggled to recognize many aspects of her life. Seeing her in such a state was a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of life and the effects of illness. Throughout the visit, I gave Jane several meaningful gifts. These included a hand-knitted sweater from my mother, a family tree drawn by my niece, and a personal gift that I had crafted myself. Each gift was a symbol of my commitment to building a relationship with Jane and integrating her into my life. The gifts were well received, and they helped to deepen our connection. As the trip drew to a close, I felt a profound mix of emotions. The visit had been transformative, providing a new perspective on family and relationships. I left Georgia with a sense of optimism and hope for the future. I planned to invite Jane to visit me when circumstances allowed, and I looked forward to continuing to build our relationship. Returning home, I reflected on the journey I had undertaken. Discovering Jane and forming a connection with her had been both challenging and rewarding. It had opened new avenues of understanding and growth. The experience taught me valuable lessons about family, identity, and the power of human connection. The journey was far from over, but it had provided a solid foundation for the future. In the months that followed, Jane and I maintained open lines of communication. We continued to share updates about our lives and discussed plans for future interactions. While there were no immediate plans for significant changes, I remained committed to nurturing the bond we had started to build. I was hopeful that, with time and continued effort, our relationship would continue to grow and evolve. The experience of discovering Jane and building a connection with her was a deeply emotional and transformative journey. It reshaped my understanding of family and highlighted the importance of empathy, communication, and commitment. As I moved forward, I remained dedicated to fostering our relationship and navigating the complexities of our new reality together.